Welcome to the Real Talk Podcast. My name is Jacob Patterson. This week, we are coming to you with a good friend of mine named Shelley Holcomb. Shelley is an independent curator and an artist, and she runs Curate LA and also a radio show called Wits and Giggles, and we talk about all that stuff. One of the most interesting things we talk about with Shelley is how to separate your personal brand from your company's brand. Like, she started Curate LA and she's curating all the stuff around the city, but she has her co-founder, so it's like a mutual taste kind of. And Patrick and I run into the same kind of thing running Think Tank Gallery together. We talk about curating events and art in LA and what kind of newsletters we all follow. The Curate LA newsletter, just like the Get Downtown newsletter, is one of my personal favorites to follow just to know what's going on in the city. And Shelley kind of talks about the challenges of curating so much stuff in the second biggest city in the country. We have a pretty interesting discussion actually on the merits of developing an alter ego and kind of get into an argument about it. So that's a fun part of the podcast. So look forward to that when it comes up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A couple other show notes. This Friday, Patrick and I will be moderating a panel. Watch our Instagrams. We're probably going to record it and then publish it here on the Real Talk Network later, but if you want to see it live, just keep it on our Instagram. We'll make some kind of announcement about it. And right after that, on Friday, Curate LA is actually having its 2-year anniversary. So hit up curate.la. I'm sure you can find information maybe on their Instagram or something on how to get into the party. But we went last year to their anniversary party and it was a fucking blast. So I expect it to be a blast again. And then last thing, Black Friday is coming up. We'll probably have a sale on a variety of things. So keep an eye on our Instagram. But for all podcast listeners, we're going to give an extra 10% off. So use code REALTALK, all caps, no spaces. And we'll give you 10% off of whatever else is going to be for sale. We'll probably have like pins and prints and a couple other things. So just keep an eye out there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Lastly, we really appreciate the people who have given us reviews. We put out a podcast basically on Friday of last week and got 90 downloads already. And that's really exciting for us because we just launched this thing and we have more podcasts coming up, and it's been only a few days. Like, we're putting this one out on a Wednesday, so that's not even a full week. And so to have 100 downloads, which I hope we will have by the time Friday hits in 1 week, is pretty exciting for us because, we just launched this thing. So I would appreciate if people start giving us feedback.
All right. Welcome to Real Talk. I am Patrick Nissom. Jacob, say hi.
What's up?
We're here with Shelley Holcomb.
Hi.
She is a beast. She has been doing Curate LA for how long?
Not quite 2 years. It's like a year and a half.
Approaching 2 years. And that's about the same amount of time you've been doing Wits and Giggles, right?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, it's about the same. Wits and Giggles is 2 years.
Did you start them at the same time?
Wits and Giggles was first.
How long before?
We just had our 2-year anniversary, actually, at the beginning of this month or the end of last month.
And when's the 2-year Curate LA anniversary?
In October.
So very close together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So can you, for the people who don't know, can you give kind of in your own words a brief description of both Curate LA and then Wits and Giggles, and then we'll kind of focus on one and go to the other?
Yeah. So Curate LA is a platform of sorts that I, myself, and my co-founder, Alex Binzer, created as a way for people to be able to discover art in LA. It started just as a map of LA where you could look around and see all the different spaces and museums and galleries that were in LA, and there were event listings. And then we developed a whole fleet of social media, blog, email newsletter, and an app. So it's sort of just this entire place that you can go to discover art in LA. It makes it easy for you.
Cool. So it's like a Google Maps that's accessible for people who are looking for like DIY spaces, art openings, events that are perhaps of interest to the folks who are more art centric. Is that an accurate description?
I mean, that is what it is now. I mean, in theory, it's a place where anyone that, even if they're not art centric, can go and discover new things to do. In my mind, I hope that people are exploring it and going to things that they don't even know what it is. But
I've done that. I've
You've
seen
done
it a
that,
couple times where I'm like, don't know what the hell this is, but I'm going there.
Sometimes it's really weird. But yeah, I mean, you can also you can see all of the museums that are on there, which is kind of crazy when you put it into scope. There's, I think, over 200 museums in LA. And so you can go through and just kind of click through all the different museums that are here.
But you don't add restaurants and coffee shops and things like that, do you? What about coffee shops that put up art shows?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I have issue with that because I get that a lot of retail stores or design stores that want to hang up art or that want to list their show because they're hanging art or in their furniture store. And I don't do retail. But it's such a foggy line.
Yeah. What about pop-ups? If someone takes over an empty retail spot and does an art installation for a month or something?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, and we'll get into that in a minute. I'm also curious about Wits and Giggles because it's kind of an awesome B-side to your life that I think is really awesome for a lot of people who are especially K-Chung listeners. Yeah,
they're completely unrelated except for the fact that I do both of them, and they're both just stem from me. Wits and Giggles is a radio show that I do. My co-host is Whitney Gibson. She was the driving force of why we started the show. But it's a radio show that we do on K-Chung, which is an artist-driven radio station in Chinatown. And the station was started by hacking into an AM station, which is still being done, and then it streams live. So Whitney and I have the show, Wits and Giggles, and our show is a talk show, and we talk about sex, and we talk about our lives and our experiences. We ask people to call in and ask us advice. And
so you hacked an AM radio station with a
sex show? We
didn't
hack.
That was K-Chung.
K-Chung did.
K-Chung hacked, and we just got on there and started talking about sex.
Yeah, so K-Chung, for people who don't know, is it's 16:30 a.m., right? That's the
I think
frequency?
So. I don't know. I've never even. You have to be in Chinatown to hear it.
Right. Yeah, I'm going off of just my research here. First airing date was May 2010, so this thing is about only 6 years old. And I actually have a friend of mine, Aaron, who does a show with another buddy of mine, Ivan, sometimes called White Leather, and it's kind of a really cool platform for people who want to get into radio, and it's not quite podcast, and it's
you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You could sit on the mic and just moan for an hour.
It's a trip. It's the best way to put it is I feel like it's like public access radio, where I know
totally is.
I remember back in the day I used to flip through public access television, and sometimes I'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? And then sometimes I'd flip through and be like, what the fuck is this shit? There's been so much interesting content that originated on public access.
Tune into K-Chung on any random time, especially late at night, and there's some good shit on there.
Yeah, so you also curate your own shit and then also have a day job, right? There's so many different things you.
And I'm also, I'm an artist.
And you're an artist. Well, that kind of ties into your own personal curation and practice.
It's short. It all does, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. But you don't present all of your work through these channels. That's the personal Shelley Holcomb, this is my shit.
Yeah. So when I curate exhibitions, a lot of the times I don't curate myself into them. Most of the time I don't.
So with Wits and Giggles, what was kind of the genesis for this idea? You said that it was kind of Whitney's.
Came to me and said, do you want to do a radio show? And I said, yeah, sure. And she said, I want to do it about sex and play 90s jams. I was like, that sounds great to me.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So
she's the Wits and you're the Giggles?
Yeah. It just happened that way.
I actually met Whitney at Take Me Home LA, which was a Penthouse Arts event that we did last month.
Yeah, we have a podcast which has either been published already or is being published soon with Ari Simon. So
who was the curator?
You guys did an installation in one penthouse, and then Wits and Giggles did an installation in another penthouse.
Right.
We shared many things.
Can you describe what the Wits and Giggles installation was in your own words?
Okay. So the idea of Take Me Home, which you guys may or may not know, whoever's listening, the concept was, what is your home? Or when you think of home, what is that? And so we, through K Chung, decided to do an installation as Wits and Giggles. Our show is about sex. If you look at our Instagram, which is at Wits and Giggles,
WHIT.
WHIT as in Giggles. Our pink is like our main color for many reasons. And so we thought that for us, what home would be was inside of a womb. So we had been listening to these, there's this thing called womb regression. It's a type of therapy, where you go back into the womb to access certain traumas you experienced while you were in there. So yeah, it's the whole thing.
What kind of wombs do they make? How do you go back into the womb?
Hypnotism, and I don't remember exactly.
Oh, so it's like a philosophical womb.
So
it's
apparently
a womb of
when
the
you're
mind.
born, it's the most traumatic experience of your life, according to these people. So they basically like hypnotize you, or you meditate and you go back into the womb and you relive anything that happened to you that was traumatizing. Wow. So we, in our installation, we basically just made this bright, glowing pink loft. In the front room, there was a dripping pink cave, which to us symbolized the vaginal canal.
It looked like it too. Like the kind of cave you had was very circular and like,
and it was really
what Han
wet.
Solo
It was
flew
dripping
into in Star Wars, but pink.
Yeah. And it was really wet and dripping, and we made a soundscape that was just slapping of water, like as if it was hitting water really hard. So it was this weird echoey, slappy sound. And then
did you record that yourselves?
No, we just found all of it.
Was it water drumming? Like
But
actual water drumming? Do you know the
I don't know what it was. It was just like a clip we found on something. Awesome. But we did record ourselves in the womb room, saying "Baby Come Home" over and over again, and we had this weird like underwater soundscape that had us saying "Baby Come Home," but we distorted our voice all kinds of ways, and that room was just covered in fabric to look like a womb.
Yeah, it was awesome. That's where I first met Whitney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like this drunken amniotic sac party.
Yeah, it was
I was
great.
like, this is my fucking jam right now.
Yeah, I've heard it theorized that the reason why we conceptualize aliens with these like big eyes and no mouths and abducting us and like pulling us up is because that's the first thing we see as a doctor pulling us out of the womb.
The bright light.
Yeah, and so we're like, an abduction is getting pulled back in. I've heard people talk about that before.
Interesting. I never
I'll find
heard
a link
that.
and send it to you because that's the limit of my knowledge on that topic.
But yeah, that was fun. We kept setting off the fire alarm, which sucks.
Yeah, that did suck.
Yeah,
A lot.
the fog machine.
Fucking fog machines. And it was
crushed our
key.
dreams.
It was key. They should have told us we couldn't use our fog machine.
It's okay. We love you, Ari Simon, and
We love you, Ari.
whatever building we were in, we forget already. So
Max, it doesn't matter.
I think it's 48 episodes you've done so far.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's approaching.
Is it 48?
According to my very primitive calculations.
How'd you do that?
Well, I went to the K Chung archives,
Okay.
where you can find all of Wits and Giggles episodes.
Yes, you can.
You can stream today. And I just straight up plugged that shit into Google Sheets, and I just
shit.
copied pasted it.
Will
and
you
then,
send me that Google sheet?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I can show it to you right here, as you can see, proof.
Oh,
So
shit.
we actually did
Red
it.
part.
Good
And you're at
job.
48, so you got to plan something for your 50th episode, just so you know.
So we just did 40. So our next one's 49
Yeah, so your latest one with
with Grace.
Yeah, with Grace was 48.
Okay, that's really good information.
Good to know, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So
What are your differences between like the first episode and where you are now?
yeah, exactly.
We're more calculated. We kind of like go through our topics more, and we pick a topic. Before we weren't even picking a topic. We're more sober now. We used to get blackout drunk on the radio.
That's what K-Chung's there for.
Yeah.
I know, but not all good things come from that. I'm
gonna go back and listen to some of the first ones then.
Do you get any like intervention emails to your K-Chung account?
No.
Need to comment?
It's hard to tell. I mean, we just say some wild things.
It's not that interviewee and like formal now even.
It's not at all, but we're just a bit more structured. We plan, like we ask guests to come on the show. We think of topics if we don't have a guest. And we kind of just like know the gist of timing better. We still have technical difficulties. It's kind of the charm of our show. But in the beginning, we had a lot of technical difficulties.
There is a lot of charm to that.
Yeah, sometimes we just wouldn't, because our show's live.
Like half your radio show's an SOS call.
Yeah, we just like wouldn't go live.
Can someone from K-Chung please fix my microphone? I spilled drank all over it.
Yeah.
So besides having the name K-Chung there, is there a reason why you're like, I want to do this shit on the radio instead of take it online on podcasts where you don't have to do it live at the same time every week? You could just record whenever you want and publish whenever you want, like us.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the live aspect that's really exciting for me. I also, like when I was in college, I used to volunteer for the college radio station, and it feels like that. I like the like shittiness of the studio, and it's just like a place to talk about stuff.
So I have a question. Is K-Chung like an reachable entity that you can hit them up and say like your show at Take Me Home LA had K-Chung's name on it?
Yeah.
Is there some person there who like runs K-Chung and you talk to him and say I need some help on my show? Or, yeah, how's it?
It's so many people.
Like? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all artists, and it keeps just like people inherit jobs and everyone volunteers to do things.
So it's like a nonprofit collective type thing?
It is a nonprofit. They just got their nonprofit status. But I mean, there's key people, like there's certain people that do most of the work. I mean, I just started paying my dues and that like was like overdue for 2 years. But yeah, I mean, everybody volunteers. There's station managers for the most part that are there every single time, and they help to like start and stop the recording.
Oh, so there's someone in the room with you that's
not in the room with us. There's like a living room area that they sit out there and just on their computer and listen to us.
Cool.
I think almost every single one of our station managers has loved our show.
That's awesome.
Listening.
That helps because you know that you've got the crew behind you actually into your show.
Yeah, and listening and like looking out for it.
Fucking these Wits and Giggles girls. I got to show up at like, what time do you record?
Our show now is first Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m., but it was second Monday of the month at 4 p.m. And I wasn't going to be able to because I have my day job now. And the like guy who does programming was like, we can't lose your show. We have to find you. And he got us a way better slot. Yeah. 7 p.m. is so much better. Yeah. Although we did, like one of our special things was that every time we had a show, we had a 420. And because we smoke weed on our show. It's a big part of our show. And now we don't have that. We still smoke weed, but.
Just 20 minutes in?
Just the whole time. I mean, it didn't matter anyways, but yeah. But,
so give me some highlights, Wits and Giggles highlights. Like who are some of your favorite guests you've had on? Dopest moments people should look up. We can share whatever. We can find the episode later and share it, but.
There's been so many. We've had a couple of professional DOMs on the show. They were great.
That last one was episode 48. I listened to it. That was pretty
good. She was great. And then Mistress Lucy, I don't even know what episode it is. I couldn't tell you. She was awesome. She's a bit more hardcore than Grace, I think.
Did you say she's like an artist and dominatrix?
She's an artist, yeah.
That's cool.
She's a dope artist.
What kind
I
of
wrote
artwork?
About her on Curate LA, actually.
Oh, cool. What kind of artwork?
I can't say both her names, though. She does latex artwork. She paints with latex.
Yeah.
And the thing, I met her as an artist, and I thought she was a cool chick, and I thought her art was dope. She's shown, I'm not going to say that.
Oh, wait, are you saying that she has like a pseudonym and she doesn't want the two to be connected?
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe you should stop there. You could tell us later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were going to say another highlight.
Oh, another highlight. We did Wits and Giggles TV for 3 episodes, and that was also live.
How'd you have that set up? We're gonna get TV
We were in
stuff
front
set
of a
up in
green
here.
screen. It was like,
Yo, why did you stop?
shitty
That
as
sounds
fucking-
no, but that's the charm of it.
I
That's-
know, but it was too stressful. We need a production team. It was too stressful.
If we set up the production, will you?
Oh my God,
revive
we'll do it again. Like if you guys
Ooh,
can
don't say shit you don't
handle
need.
Can we do
shit.
whatever we want with the green screen? That's the real question.
No, we curate all of that. We
all right,
did.
all
I mean,
right.
we'll tell you what we want. I mean, we do some pretty good stuff.
Okay, we'll make it a collaboration.
Where can people? Is that online? Does
It's
that
on
live
YouTube.
somewhere?
Just look
Okay.
up Wits and Giggles
Awesome.
on YouTube. It's
That's
so
awesome.
embarrassing,
Dope.
actually. But do it.
We should put a green screen here, but there's probably no room.
You totally should.
Hell yeah!
That'd be cool.
Just like bald eagles like flying in the background.
Do they do
Yeah,
360
we had
green
like
screen shit yet?
hands because we did a hand job show and we had all these like weird hands like going all over the place behind us.
Awesome.
But that was one of my favorite shows. It was with this guy who does a wank bank class, Adam Seymour.
What's a wank bank class?
It's a class that he invented, but it teaches you how to give a good hand job. He was a professional masseur. And so when he lived in New York, it was his way of making money. He would do happy ending massages. He's a gay man. He would do it to other men. And, through that process, he's gained exceptional hand job skills. Now he teaches classes on it. And that's what he does. He's also an artist. He has, he's illustrated a couple books, that are now on sale. They're cool. They're coloring books. They're really great, actually.
That's awesome. Not for kids coloring books.
Definitely not.
I feel like the only key to a good hand job is like coconut oil.
That's horrible.
There's a lot of other tips, actually. There's a lot of like, he gave me a whole laminated step-by-step sheet that I can use whenever I need to.
Yeah, so that the coconut oil washes off. 'cause it's
Yeah. Or like, like semen on a piece of paper. It's not going to last long.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were all these tricks of the trade. I don't remember a lot of them, but it was a really fun show. He asked me to bring props. So before the TV show, I went to this Asian market and bought the most bizarre vegetables that I could find that looked like dicks. And it was
You took the eggplant emoji to the next level.
to the very next level. Yeah. And then at the end of it, he made Whitney and I jerk each other off to like test our skills.
Like you were holding
At the same time, we held the vegetables in between our legs and jerked each other off at the same time to test our skills.
This lives online, right?
It lives online.
All
How stoned
right,
were you?
we'll post a link to this.
How stoned are you, and how do you hide that stuff from your family?
I tell my family not to look at it.
That's what I'm
and
doing
I
with
say,
this podcast.
if you're going to look at it, then you can't get mad at me.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are really embarrassing. We also did this other show. It was a mukbang show. Do you guys know what mukbang is?
Mukbang?
Mukbang.
No.
It's a Korean trend where you eat food on camera, and it's like you're in a chat room, like you're a chat girl, except for you're just eating food.
Fuck yeah.
And
I
you're
would
eating
excel
like
at that.
tons of food, like enough for a family. And it's girls and guys. But
It's a fetish?
It's not a fetish. It is for some people. Some people are feeders and they want to see people get off, or they get off on seeing people eat way too much. But this is more, it's only in Korea and it's through Africa TV. And, it's like, people see it as companionship. It's almost like they're watching a cooking show, but it's also their friend that they're eating with or something. A lot of people eat with them, and then there's a comment board, so they comment and they give tokens. And so these people make so much money off of it.
It's like cam girl.
What the-
That's
It's like a cam
the
girl,
future of
except for
porn is
food.
cam girls.
So it's called mukbang. So we did that.
Did you
and
make any money?
No, we didn't make any money, and it was like so disgusting. I mean, it's disgusting to eat that much amount of food on film. Like,
You can do it
when you're
again
not-
soon when you have way more followers and be
So
like,
you-
all right, pay us.
You were just like fat, hungry, and broke. You're like fat and broke at this moment, and you're like, whatever. This is like my life every day. Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
God, that's fucking awesome. Wait,
Yeah.
where can I want to audition? Can guys do this?
You can just start your own account on Africa TV and do it. Thing is, you have to speak Korean in order to get, because that's the only. It's very niche. I mean, it's only Korea right now.
Yeah.
There's many places to do that though. Like I come from the sneaker world. That's how I got into the art world. And there are fetish channels where people just buy the newest sneakers that are out and destroy them. So there's this thing people do where they take Air Maxes, which have an air bubble at the bottom, and it'll be like $150 pair of shoes, and they'll just pop it and get really, really nice microphones to capture the hissing sound.
That's like ASMR shit.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
That shit is crazy.
That's what this reminds me of. But it's
a bit more than that because they're destroying something.
Oh, they destroy them in way worse ways. Like they'll get the new Yeezys, they'll stand in line for weeks and get the new Yeezys, and then like set them on fire and dunk them in tar or whatever. The first time I saw it, I wrote a long piece about it on the gallery blog because it reminded me, I grew up pretty broke, and the first time I got a pair of Air Maxes, this rich kid next to me in my class popped them, and it's traumatic. Like I've remembered it for the rest of my life. I could see though, traumatic experiences sometimes turn into people's kinks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I could see that being something.
Absolutely.
It's interesting how that happens.
And that stuff's on YouTube, but if you go on like Pornhub, you can find people buying brand new sneakers and then filling them
on
up with like coconut oil and just fucking the shoe.
Oh, really?
And it'll be like a $200 pair
it's
of Nikes.
It's on Pornhub?
Yeah, you couldn't put it on YouTube. So
I'm gonna call your bluff. We either gonna post this link or Jacob's a liar. It's one or the other.
They're all over the place. I'll show you my favorites. I mean, the ones that I found.
Wait, real quick. ASMR, which is I looked it up, autonomous sensory meridian response.
Yeah.
I've seen videos on YouTube of literally. It's someone. It's often a girl. It's that. It's like tapping on wood.
She's tapping her black fingernails for those of you.
Yeah. If you're into that, yeah. How you doing?
That's Patrick, and that sounds really ugly.
That's true.
That was not a turn on at all.
It's an auditory
Trust me, I get that a lot.
It's an auditory response that not everybody gets.
Correct. And the way in which people find pleasure is through different things. It could be nails on wood. The one that I discovered that introduced me to this, I was looking for, I do a lot of videos, so I'm always like pulling sound effects off of YouTube. And there was one where this woman was just turning the pages on this textbook.
That's definitely one.
And I was like, why the fuck does this have like 800,000 views? And I go into the comments and it's just like, it's not even people being like overtly creepy. It was just this very weird, like litany of responses that just all like underlined pleasure. It was like, wow, this was very nice.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Hey, thank you for
doing this.
You sound like
you're doing ASMR right now.
Yeah, welcome.
People do that.
Welcome to Real Talk Radio. We're going to turn pages and
Bob
tap
Ross.
wood. Yeah.
Bob Ross was tapping the paintbrush.
Yeah, I feel like Bob Ross was like
the king of it. Have you ever sat?
He was like the ASMR orgy. It was like, look at these visuals, listen to me talk.
Well, it's his talking, and it's
he was kind of like the grandfather of all that.
He totally was. They claim him as that pretty much.
I watched him was it Sunday mornings he was on PBS?
You know he's on Netflix, and you can watch it like hours and hours and hours.
Bought the entire collection back one time. I had a crazy flu, thought I had AIDS. That's a whole different story. And I was bedridden. I could barely
Bob
even
Ross
move.
made it better.
I watched hours and hours and hours and hours of Bob Ross.
It's weird.
It sucks though because it actually kind of ruined Bob Ross for me because I loved Bob Ross growing up. I watched every episode every weekend. I would watch it. I can't remember when it was on. I think it was on Sunday mornings in Sacramento. Then got really sick. Watched a whole bunch of episodes and kind of ruined it for me. I haven't watched it since.
You should go back to it. I recently was really hungover and laid in bed for like 8 hours doing it, and I was like in and out of consciousness.
It's great.
And just Bob Ross.
But what I wanted to do, I wanted to put like a speaker somewhere. You know how VSF, the gallery you invited me to in Hollywood, has a soundscape as people enter? Mm-hmm. I wanted to do something similar where I couldn't do this because, we sell stuff, but just play Bob Ross on a projector somewhere as people enter the gallery or some other space, and then just play audio and the entire series of it.
Well, they just did an ASMR show a couple weeks ago.
Who did?
Whoa.
VSF.
Oh, really?
Very Small Fires, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they did a whole ASMR presentation there.
What were the exhibits? Do you
They
remember?
were just YouTube videos. They had a neuroscientist speak about it. I left after that, so I don't really know what else happened. My coworker does ASMR, and she was actually in the show.
So was this an event that was listed on Curate LA?
That one in particular wasn't, no. Well, actually, yes, it was. Sorry.
So the stuff that goes on Curate LA, how much of it do you put up versus how much other people put up? Like that people put their own listings up?
I'd say right now it's 50-50.
And do you want it to stay that, or would you rather have it like 90% as other people and then you just
Yeah, I people need to submit.
All right, submit, motherfuckers.
Submit.
Yeah. So how do you submit? So a lot of
Okay,
people,
yeah.
this is a lot of people's first time being introduced to Curate LA.
Yeah, this is actually an important topic too, because listings is an important thing for any person who's doing PR for whatever project and gallery they're working on. And Curate LA is probably my favorite resource in the city. I'll say it.
Appreciate that. So you go to curate.la, and that is the map of LA. It shows you where all the different art spaces are. And also there's an event scroll. But if you look at the top menu bar of the page, there's a submit a venue button, and then there's a submit an event button. There's also a search bar. So if you are interested in submitting your event or venue, you should first search the venue in the search bar. And if it's not there, then submit your venue. We approve it, and then you can submit your event. And it's pretty straightforward form of where you just put the event name and time and duration. Same difference.
And who's there approving? Who's like the person
Me.
who does it? You?
Yeah.
How many submissions do you usually get, like in a month, let's say?
I have no idea. It's probably like maybe like 150 to 200
Per day?
No,
a
in a
month.
month.
Oh, a month.
Per day. I don't know if that would exist.
How has the growth of Curate LA kind of, what has the trajectory been like since day one to now? Like, has it risen exponentially at any point? Has it been steady growth? Like, how have you seen this company blossom?
It's been steady, but it's been rapid. I remember, I went to an art fair, and I remember it was in January, and I remember the year before that was when I started in October, so it was only 2 months old when I went to this art fair, and no one knew about it. And then I went to this art fair a year later, and everyone knew about it.
That's so awesome.
I think that it's still a pretty niche thing, but everyone in the art world knows about it now. And it's mostly been word of mouth. Like, it's mostly been people just telling other people about it, which is pretty cool.
How'd you start it?
How did I start it? My co-founder, Alex, he programmed a map that was for the tech world of LA. He's a tech developer. He's a programmer. And so he made the exact same thing. It was called Represent LA. And it was a map of LA that showed you where all the tech events were, all the incubators, angel investors, anything tech involved. And when I saw that, I told him that I wanted to do that for the art world. And so I aggregated all the data, and that took a couple months.
What's that mean? Like, what'd you have to
Collect.
do?
Like all of the venues. I mean, I put most of the venues that are on there, unless they're new, I put those myself.
How'd you find them?
I don't know. Just like Googling around and using Art Forum and Facebook, and
That's so crazy. It's so crazy to think that that's how you had to do it, because now anytime I get, submissions to the gallery, 3 or 4 a day, and most of the time people are submitting and it's not the right style of artwork. So instead of just saying no, I always say, oh, you can probably find a gallery that shows work similar to yours, curate.la. And they always go, holy shit, this is crazy. I reply probably 2-3 times a day, sending people there, because that's how
cool.
to do
Thank
it now.
you.
And so imagining LA before Curate LA and how to find venues is like a whole such a more difficult feat in my mind.
That's
You had
a
to
good
do
point.
it all yourself.
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember how I did it. I didn't have a job at the time. And yeah, I just like aggregated all of this data. And then once it was built and went live, then I started like tweeting at everyone and adding all of the events myself. And then it was just like a slow progression of people catching on, passing it around. We were mentioned in the New York Times, I think like a year, not even a year in. It was less, it was like 9 months after we started, and that definitely gave us a push.
Yeah. New York is kind of like taking a liking to LA right now.
Yeah.
They show off a lot of shit that we're doing.
Have you considered expanding? Have you spoken to your partner, been like, hey,
Absolutely.
let's grab some interns, collect some data, and fucking turn this into Curate New York?
I've secured a lot of different cities already, a lot of domains and handles.
Oh, cool. So that's a big question I have. The one of the interesting things about LA is the sprawl of the city,
which is why we needed to curate LA.
Exactly, and the way that isn't it like 500 square miles or something is what you guys cover? Like all of LA County, right?
We do some other places too.
Like what?
Like we listed something that was in Ojai recently, Palm Springs,
Long Beach,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It depends. I'm very selective because I don't want it going all over the place.
Yeah. So you try to generally keep it in one place.
In LA.
Even in LA, there's all these villages that have all kind of like expanded and their borders have grown blurry. So that's one of the interesting things about LA, and that's why Curate LA plays so well. So what's it going to be like when you move to another city that's not like that?
I mean, I think anyone can always use like a tip, like even if you're in a small city, you might not know where the galleries are or how to access that. Like I am an avid gallery goer, regardless of if I'm here or if I go visit another city. And if you go visit another city and you Google whatever gallery openings, it's really hard to figure that out. It's really hard to aggregate it all, to organize it, to know where the fuck you're going, to write all these places down and navigate that, and then also time it. No, I don't know. I just think that any city could benefit from something that puts it all together in one place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Angelinos may take LA or Curate LA for granted, because I think now that I know that this has been a resource for us, it's been almost a year and a half, 2 years, like almost since day one.
That's cool.
That's how I met you. It was very early on, and I was like, yo, I want to talk about DIY spaces in general and artist-run spaces, because you were one of the only people who knew what was out there.
Yeah, and I almost take it for granted because, I look at it as a resource that it's like one of the tools in my tool belt when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do this weekend. Like there's only like one or two, maybe three like email blasts that I actually pay attention to.
LA Canvas.
LA Canvas is one of them. They're usually pretty good at that.
Get downtown LA.
And then, Curate LA is when I'm like, all right, like I'm trying to see some dope shit tonight. Like, where am I going to go? And I go to Curate LA, and it's just like, that's just second nature. And I feel like people in New York, I mean, I'm sure you already know this, but like people in New York, people in Detroit, like people maybe even in New Orleans. I don't know what
Detroit is definitely one of the handles I have.
They're doing really well.
I know. I absolutely want to go there with Curate LA.
Are you going to put like a community ambassador or something on the ground there so that you understand the community instead of just trying to do it all yourself?
No, it's humanly impossible for me to do it on myself. I can't do that at all. It would definitely be someone who represents the city. I mean, it's just happenstance that I live in LA and I know the scene, but I can't do that. I'd have to live somewhere else for a few years in order to do what I did here.
Yeah, Shelby Sells could be good in Detroit. Do you know her? Sweater Puppies. She's a photographer.
Yeah, I actually just emailed her, or we emailed her because we want to get her on our radio show.
Oh, cool. I know her. I could probably put you in touch. And then Zoe, do you know Zoe Lagone or whatever her name is? She's a sex columnist. She'd be perfect. I'm going to send you her
Someone else is, I think,
she runs Spectrum Boutique. She sponsored a show during Break Bread. She'd be perfect in Detroit.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
What does expansion look like for Curate LA? Like, is this already in motion? Is there anything you're able to disclose as far as?
I mean, it's all kind of up in the air. It's not, we haven't really decided on anything. Expansion looks like funding. If someone wants to give us a lot of money, we have a template for every other city and it's ready to go.
You're just kind of holding out for that?
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible for me to do it any other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, right now, we're still fresh in LA. Like, I think we have a lot of room to grow here, a lot of things to do, and a much larger audience to gain. We have an international following on our social media, and I think that's going to grow a lot more, which will help if and when we go to other cities.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so explain the three different platforms, because they all kind of serve three different uses. Like if I'm chilling today and I'm like, oh shit, I ain't got shit to do tonight, I can just open the app, and the app is a good place to find what's happening tonight in LA. The website serves its own purpose, and then the newsletter serves its own purpose, which kind of spotlights your personal favorite shit, or whoever curates the newsletter. Yeah,
so it's sort of like a funnel. So like the map is the biggest part of the funnel, of where it's the map of LA that you can zoom around in and look at all these different spaces. You can visit these different spaces' websites.
And kind of categorize it by alternative spaces, museums, etc.
And galleries.
Commercial galleries.
And then it also has event listings that you can see what's going on in the next week in LA. Then the app is solely just event listings. There's no map on there. It's solely just the events that are happening within the next week. The great thing about the app is that you can connect it to your calendar, and you can connect it to your maps. So you can save the events in your calendar. And then if you are gallery hopping, which I encourage anyone to do, you can easily navigate to the next spot.
And you can kind of share directly to Facebook to say, yo, everybody, I'm going to this shit in a couple days. And you have 2 tabs, right? It's like openings
and then exhibitions.
So shit that's on, like, running, and then shit that's opening tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And both the app and the website are a large range of openings that are happening. They're submitted and they're added by me. They're lightly curated, like I said earlier, where I don't really allow retail stores, or like I don't do auction events anymore. I did for a bit, and I decided not to.
You're not an auction fan?
No, I'm not.
We had a conversation about this the other day.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of auctions. I don't think they represent artwork well at all.
But we can get back to that.
Okay, so, and then the newsletter is a highly curated format of my picks of events that are happening.
So they're yours?
They're mine.
Shelley Holcomb's favorite events that are happening.
They are my events. The newsletter is called Must See Events in LA. Or this week's Must See Events in LA. And it's usually 5 to 10 events that I choose that I think that are worth going to, that I will most likely be there.
Yeah, I pretty much, every time I go to one, I see you.
Yeah.
Do you try to vary in terms of, because you're a fan of installation and performance and video and these kind of more fringe types of art, not just straight up painting and photo shows?
Absolutely.
You like a lot of weird shit.
Yeah, I like weird shit. I'm really into performance, really into installation. But yeah, I try to vary for sure. I mean, I'll usually feature one museum event, maybe, not even. I really try to, if there's like a new, smaller gallery that's opened up and they're doing cool shit, I'll for sure put them on. But yeah, and I usually try not to like feature the same space within a few weeks. I try to at least keep a variety within my picks.
And what do the little eyeballs mean?
The eyeballs are must see. Those are the ones that I think you should go see.
So on the on the app and on the website listings, there will be little eyeballs looking at it. So that means must see, but they don't always end up in the newsletter.
No, they don't always end up in the newsletter.
All right, I noticed that today, and I was like,
it's tricky.
Yeah. The
and then sometimes I forget to put the eyes on the pics that I choose in my newsletter.
Oh, so you're really confusing people.
I know. I just can't. I can't stay consistent.
So, speaking of just kind of fringe content, most specifically video art, I know that you have curated before BYOB, right? Which is
Bring Your Own Beamer.
Bring Your Own Beamer. Can you explain a little bit about what that is to people, artists you've featured in the past, and what it is about video art that gets you excited? It makes you want to drop them eyeballs on that shit.
And this is your personal curation, right?
This is my personal curation.
So this is aside from Curate LA. This is Shelley Holcomb.
Okay. So, I've curated multiple video shows in the past. I can't really explain my draw to curating video shows. I studied painting in school, but
where
at Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. And I mostly did painting, but my senior year, I started doing installation and video work that incorporated painting. And then since then, I've been slowly doing more and more new media video work. As far as curation goes, it's not, I mean, I guess with BYOB, it was this whole thing. It was about video and sort of just filling a space with projections. The idea is that you bring your own projector. And we curated it because we had specific artists that we wanted to show. I forgot what I was talking about, actually.
So you have people show up with the projectors,
They
right?
bring their own beamers.
Yeah, they bring
have
their own
to?
beamers, but it's curated. Yes, you have to because we have no money and you have to bring your own projector.
Projectors are
'cause
expensive.
We can't
Yeah.
supply a projector. So originally, I'm going to take a step back. BYOB was started by Raphael Rosendahl, and it's an open format, open source exhibition where anyone can take it on. And the way that it's originally supposed to be is that anyone can show. You just show up, you bring your own beamer, and you beam onto a wall if you
Wait,
can
so
find one.
this is like a brand idea that this guy put out into
It's
the
an
world,
open
and he was like,
source
steal my
exhibition.
idea?
Yeah, he put it out there.
That's interesting.
And it's been done so many places, like all
Right.
over the world, many, 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 many times.
What's the guy's name?
Raphael Rosendahl, he's an amazing artist. He's an internet-based artist and video artist. He shows at Steve Turner.
Cool.
He's super dope. But yeah, so we took that idea and we had a really large space that we were able to do a one-night event, and we called it BYOB because we curated it and that we picked the artists that were going to be participating, but we didn't at all restrict their content or how they were presenting their work. It was all decided by them. What was your initial question? I feel like I just...
I mean, you pretty much answered it.
Did I
How
answer
many of those did you do? You said 3?
I think I have 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
I can't remember anymore.
How many shows have you curated, period?
Shit.
Oh, it's that many, huh?
I mean, it's like 10, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should write these things down.
You don't have it like a part on your portfolio, like your CV anywhere? It's like, I've curated this much
Not the
shit.
shows that I've curated, no.
And then what about your work? Do you still paint, or are you just all installation and video art shit now?
I still paint in theory. In my mind,
Explain.
I still paint.
Oh,
so
it's
not
like
on
that.
physical canvas.
Not-
It's like
I
an
haven't-
actor who moves to LA and he's like, I'm an actor, but he's only waited tables for the last 5 months.
Fuck
Oh,
off.
don't do her
That's
like
not
that.
even
You're like,
true.
I've only curated some of the
Fuck
dopest
you.
shit in
Yo,
all of LA for the last
let
few
the
months,
record
but I
show-
have not put a paintbrush
let
to
the record
canvas
show
yet.
that Shelley Holcomb is the best mind painter I have ever met in
Thank
my
you.
entire
I
life.
appreciate
Mind
you.
painter.
Yeah, Jacob's being a
around.
little hater ass bitch, so
I'm
annoying.
being smug. I'm being a little
He's being
smug.
smug. Okay, so yes, I still create paintings in my mind that will one day happen.
No, I respect that. I respect that. And here's why.
dope.
Is because I have been on this. Here, this is what I tell people. So my background is in filmmaking, cinematography. And I used to write a lot of content. And what I do is I have an Evernote. Do you use Evernote?
Wow.
You hit
I know, it's
my
intense.
mic. You're
I
really
know.
throwing
I was
your arms
excited.
around. Throw
I was
them
excited.
bows, Patrick Nixon.
Evernote?
Evernote.
I don't know.
So Evernote is just basically a note-taking platform in which you can tag, blah, 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 a bunch of nerdy shit. So I haven't written a wealth of content, but I'm always like a piggy bank. I'm just dropping ideas into my Evernote.
Yeah, it's
all
Like
the
ideas you
time.
came up with, or just
Ideas that I've come up
links?
with. Yeah, no, ideas that I've come up with.
I have a page in my actual notebook that I do that.
I have a page
Well,
in
that's
my
cool.
notes on my phone that I do that.
So
See?
we're all doing it just in a different format.
Yeah. But I mean, I see exactly where you're coming from. Where
Yeah.
like you haven't materialized it, but you're still cataloging these
Yeah.
ideas.
Or I'm working on them in my brain.
That's good.
Is what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
but
tell
like
you.
I tell people, like, I have a bunch of shit that I want to paint that I want to get to, and I'm a decent painter, but I really want to get back to it. And I always say when I'm 40, I'm going to start with everything I've learned, a career as an artist, and I'll probably start a pseudonym so that it doesn't come across just Jacob Patterson. It looks like all this.
Why
guy.
do you want to start a pseudonym?
Because I feel like it will give the artist and the opportunity to share his work and his ideas from an original place, from step one, aside from people who can look up Jacob Patterson, everything I've done, and be like, oh, he's a curator that's trying to be a painter and all that kind of shit. Because I was a painter first.
Why would you worry about that if it's just like you?
Why would I worry about
people judging you for being a curator?
I just feel like I can make much more interesting work and build a catalog from this artist's perspective.
I mean, your work should speak for itself.
Exactly. So my name doesn't need to be attached.
I see where you're coming from for sure. I pointing at Jacob. I see where no one's going.
The camera's not in here.
No one
yet.
can see this shit. No one's even listening right now. It's probably my mom.
Just look it up on Wits and Giggles TV.
Yeah, exactly. I see where you're coming from, because I'm sure that everyone has like somewhere in between 2008 and 2017 or 2016 rather, where has ended up looking up or digging up their MySpace.
Oh my God.
And they
dude.
look at those pictures and they like grab their seat and they cringe. And it's like
way worse.
Our puny little stupid ass minds were not developed enough to understand what kind of stylistic disasters or like
of course.
personal brand decisions, as I'll call them, that we were making. And so I understand the sentiment of like, if you have an epiphany, let's say that you go and you discover that you want to pivot yourself and you want to discover a new angle of your personality or your alter ego even, and you want to promote a body of work. I don't want to be trapped under the weight of my history.
That's in your own mind.
I guess.
Not necessarily. I mean,
it's a different time. It's a different time because I think people would agree with you if this was even the year 2002, because let's keep in mind that YouTube was not even purchased by Google before 2007. Facebook and Twitter hadn't even gotten their legs beneath them since 2007. So we're only looking at almost like
that's
really
not
less than
true. Facebook
it's true.
Was around in 2000. I remember when I started college.
I said your legs. They didn't have their legs beneath them until 2007.
And when you started college, it might have been college students only.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And so
it might have still been called the Facebook.
So think about the fact that we've only had less than 10 years of this sort of easy access before us, where people can find pictures, people can find posts.
Oh shit.
Oh, you son of a bitch, Shelley.
I had to set my alarm.
Answered on the I thought it was a phone call.
It's not a phone call, it's an alarm because I have to post something for my day job.
Do you have to do it literally right now?
I have to do it in like 10 minutes.
Okay, let him finish.
But I can do it while we're doing this.
Let him finish this
That's
thought,
fine.
and then I got something to say. And
So my point is that it's never been easier for people to uncover the lame-ass MySpace fucker you really are, or were rather, is more appropriate. And it can hinder your work, because I know the first thing I do when I see something dope is I Google that person.
I know, but like, I mean, I could see how it could hinder your job. Like if you were getting a professional job and you have all these drunk photos. But as an artist, like, aren't the like quirks the best part about artists? Like, isn't it?
So you think there's no room anywhere for someone to put out a secret project?
I do. But you're saying it's because you think people are going to judge you on your past projects.
I think that it puts a filter of it puts an embedded message as a filter on top of whatever the project could be. I mean, you can look back. I go by my name now, personally. I still put Jacob Patterson on shit. Like, we'll post something from the Think Tank Gallery, and people can go back and Google me, and you can find some of the most embarrassing shit ever. I started as a semi-famous YouTuber when I was 19.
Oh,
Imagine, really? I haven't told you this probably because it's coming out on this podcast. This is kind of like the sequel to that
Jacob's
shit.
coming out party for sure.
We've talked about...
Wait, what did you do?
I customized sneakers, but then I also would post like art theory videos and shit. I had a rant every day. I had one that kind of took off called "What is Art?" And I just sat there for 20 minutes and tried to explain what art is. It was at fucking 19. Like, imagine.
But
how
see,
stupid
honestly, like that, I think that's an artist's process. That's your life as an artist.
Yeah. There's certain things that I have somewhat kind of buried because I felt like it could damage some of the things I aspire to. And I was very, very against it for so long. I was like, don't censor anyone, including your dumbass 20-year-old self. Like, I wouldn't even kick it with myself when I was 20. I say that all the time. That fool was an idiot. I wouldn't hang out with them. If he came up to me at a party, I'd be like, dude, get away from me, you lame. But I'd left it up for a long time. There's a couple things I've taken down, but if you go digging right now, you can find some pretty
incriminating
shit.
the luxury of taking it down.
That's true. That's true.
Not necessarily. Some people, I mean, people can snatch anything up now that you want.
I think you're worrying about it too much.
No, I'm not. I'm not very worried about it. But when I am 40, I want to be able to create anything I want.
Just make dope art and people won't give a fuck about your past.
True.
You think all these artists didn't like do dumb shit when they were younger?
Of course. But let me ask you this question. So one of the things that bothers me to some degree is when I curate a show myself and I want to put an installation into the show. Yes, I will document it and put my name on it and put it in my portfolio as like, this is something that I made so that maybe in the future I can do a public art project or something like that. But I will, excuse me, I'm drinking a lot of Lagunitas here, our favorite beer. So I will, if I'm making an installation though, I kind of consider it more so as part of the mood of the show. So it'll be an installation that kind of like gives people the vibe I want. And that starts all the way down at the very, very bottom when I'm conceptualizing the show with the curatorial statement. But I don't even necessarily put my name on that piece in the show. It's just something someone walks in and sees. And if they really want to find out what it is, they have to ask the gallery. And then I can tell them at that point that I made it. Sure. But I'm not going to start a show that's like, these are the dopest fucking artists in the entire world, headlined by Jacob Patterson. And then I put all these motherfuckers beneath me. Because
so don't
that looks
curate
like
your own show.
Right. So why then would you not put you said the same thing. You're like, I don't want to put myself as a curator. I don't want to put my own art in a show where I'm saying I'm one of the dopest artists in the city, so I'm going to select myself.
Well, that's different than me.
But that's the same
when
reason.
I'm 40, changing my name.
I'm not saying I'm going to change my name. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing as Jacob Patterson, but I'm also going to have.
I still am an artist as Shelley Holcomb, and I'm also a representative of Curate LA as Shelley Holcomb, and I'm also, when I curate, it's curated by me. Mm-hmm. It depends on the show whether or not I put my own art in it, whether or not I fit.
But you said most of the time you don't.
Most of the time I don't.
Why is that?
I guess I don't fit into my own shows. I don't know.
So do you collect art?
I do.
Do you collect art that looks like yours? What kind of art do you collect?
All kinds of stuff. I mean, it's usually my friends' art. I usually trade some stuff.
Yeah, that's important in the art world.
It's kind of like some of it's pretty grotesque or which is similar to my work. Some of it's pretty abstract. I mean, I guess a lot of it's alarming.
Alarming?
Alarming.
Like,
yeah.
Can you cite an example?
Like one of the paintings I own that's hanging above my bed was done by my friend Harrison Fraley, and is this beautiful wax and caustic, and he does wax over imagery, and the imagery that's on it is huge. It's like 5.5 feet by 4 feet at least. Is Nancy Kerrigan when she got her knees busted.
Yo.
The second her knees were busted, so it's just like her screaming. But it's beautiful.
What an interesting piece.
Yeah.
It's a trip because I grew up, for some reason, my mom was obsessed with ice skating. And
At that time, a lot of people were.
Yeah, it was a trip. I mean, like Christy Yamaguchi was just like slanging gold medals everywhere.
What was the dude that did the backflips? Mark something?
I don't know. I don't know if I went that far. But I remember this like crazy Nancy Kerrigan moment where like my little naive mind, like keep in mind, this is the same little naive mind who was like, Bill Clinton's innocent. My parents were like just not looking at me because they didn't want to tell me the truth. I swear to God, it's a true story.
I just want you to believe.
Yeah, surprise. But like this Kerrigan thing was a trip, and that's like a memory that's been implanted in my brain. Yeah. So it's such a trip.
Have you seen the 30 for 30 documentary?
I would love to see that piece.
Dude,
the Netflix documentary. Both y'all should go home tonight and watch the Netflix documentary.
I've heard of this 30 for 30.
It's so good. 30 for 30 is some of the best content that exists in any documentary realm, but it's all produced by ESPN. They started it as like a series of shorts or something.
It's about sports.
Yeah, but it's not about sports. It's about...
I'm really not into sports.
Right. And so this is the entry point for you to understand all of the most important stories that have ever happened in the sports world. You don't have to be into sports to like this. Like, for example, the O.J. Simpson 5-part series that ESPN did for 30 for 30, The first 2 episodes are almost exclusively about
I need
race
to see
riots
that.
and
I heard
racial.
it's really good.
So good. I can give you my ESPN Go login information, and you can watch it on your phone or Apple TV.
I've been
or some
wanting
shit.
to watch the O.J. Simpson one for sure.
It's so good. It's better even than the Cuba Gooding Jr. series with John Travolta and shit that they did.
It's
better
been
than
OJ season. Like, poor fucking guy in jail. Like,
Poor
he's
fucking
already
guy. He brutally murdered his wife. I don't give a fuck about.
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
what he's
he's getting what he
experiencing
deserves.
right now.
Let me recorrect that.
Yeah, please.
What a bummer for this dude to already be in
guess.
jail, probably forever, and then have
Hopefully
like
forever.
syndication come back on of all of the shit he did wrong back to the
Good.
back.
He should have that playing
I
in front
agree,
of his
yeah,
face
yeah.
24/7 all the time.
You know what though? Before you say anything, you got to watch these documentaries because it puts so many questions in your mind.
That's
man.
fine. I can question it.
He did it, but it still
He
puts so
did
many
it.
questions in
OJ
your mind.
Dunn
He fucking did it.
On how it
My
could be
aunt was
possible.
friends with Nicole, actually.
Word?
No
Yeah.
shit.
He
Well-
fucking did it for sure.
Yeah, of course he did it. Yeah, so sorry, OJ, not sorry.
Not sorry at all.
Your collection at home is the murky aspects of the human condition.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of cool. I'm kind of into that because like I'm kind of a happy dude. Like I never really get salty about too much shit.
That's good.
And so I kind of almost prefer the things around me to be a little bit fucked up. Like when I was
I'm the opposite. I'm like, you got a lot of issues going on. I feel like things around me fucked up help for me to just like feel okay about it.
well, we should hang out more. You should invite us to these damn barbecues at your
I
house.
invited you.
What?
I
They were on
invited
Saturday.
you. On Saturday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Well,
I'm
now
sorry.
you did. Yeah,
Yeah,
now you
we-
It's not a public event. Everybody.
Yeah,
is here.
we missed your mom coming into town, unfortunately.
No, I didn't.
No,
I
you
kicked it with her
didn't.
mom. I should have just
Yeah.
texted your mom and been like, "Yo, can I come to whatever you're doing?" Because Shelley won't invite
Oh,
me to her
last
backyard.
night.
I'm
Did you get my
salty.
mom's number?
No, it should
Oh,
have.
okay.
So okay, so I guess my real question is this: I run an artist-run space, and we
Yes.
should talk about DIY artist-run spaces, things like this, because you're almost a professional in the field. I have come to feel guilty when I put together a show, and in the show, I give myself like the headlining slot in the show.
What do you
And
mean by that?
I give myself a position that's like I'm the fucking spotlight in the show. Like I'm putting this whole show, that's like this whole thing, all for my ego. That I'm like trying to put this headlining piece up, and then all the other artists are just
It's your work.
encircling. You're right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This actually happened.
No, I'm saying I don't like to do that. When we first started the space, it was completely an artist-run space where there was just the 5 of us, and we would
That's
all only show
good.
our work.
I
That's
think
cool.
that's good. I
It is
respect
cool.
that.
And we've kind of expanded out now, and now we're working with artists that are way more famous than I ever was, and I respect them a lot. And I'm just like, everyone around me is so dope. I just want to show them all off. So for me, I don't want to show them all off and then put up my own work and say, I'm as dope as all of these famous ass motherfuckers that are getting like 15-page spreads in High Fructose magazine and shit. So when I make my own personal portfolio, I'll throw that stuff in there so I can eventually, whatever, pitch myself for future projects that I want to do and shit like that. But I've talked to you before and you've been like, no, I don't show my own work and shows that I curate so much. So why is it that you don't? You just don't have time? You're focusing too much on the curation?
Most of the time, I haven't created any sort of tangible art besides, like, I consider Wits and Giggles performance art. I consider Curate LA an art project, but I haven't made any sort of tangible art in a year. When I curated a show a year ago, I made a painting for it. I put it in there. When I did BYOB, I did put a video in there. If I have work for it and it fits the show, I'm going to show my own work.
Okay.
For the most part, like, I think that if I think my work is good enough, why shouldn't I show it? I mean, just because are people going to hate on that? I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you in a
I think I deserve to show my own work. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you in a different way.
Do I promote my own work on Curate LA? Sometimes.
You do.
Yeah. Like Wits and Giggles, when we did the
You made an
Take Me Home
installation.
LA,
Yeah, that was an installation.
I promoted that on Curate LA. What else would I do it for? Like, ultimately, I'm an artist.
So let me ask you this question in a different way.
Okay.
You essentially have to run 4, and people hate the word, but you essentially have to run 4 different brands. You have your day job, which you're currently working on right now from your phone.
I am.
You have your own personal shit that you do, your personal curation, your personal paintings. It sounds like you do your own personal event production as well.
Yeah.
You host events, produce original content, and curate the city of LA and all of its
city of
happenings.
LA.
And then you do shit through Wits and Giggles, your radio show, and also put on events and installations through that. So you have to be able to separate these things in your mind, which I guess is kind of what I was getting at, where I want to do my own shit with painting that's its own project. I don't have to worry about it and, and tying it into the shit that I do. So how do you decide where something fits? Like Take Me Home LA. Why did you decide not to do it as Shelley Holcomb or Curate LA, but to do it as Wits and Giggles instead?
Well, that's easy. I mean, that's because K Chung sent out an email and said, does anybody want to do this? And we're like, yeah. I mean, because we're DJs there.
Have you hosted events through Curate LA?
Yeah, we did our anniversary party.
Any other ones?
I hosted a screening actually for LA Pride. It was a screening of Zachary Drucker films.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do you have any more events through Curate LA that you're planning?
Yeah, we're gonna do another anniversary party in October.
Cool.
And then there is possibly a collaboration with the museum that might be happening this fall.
Damn. Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
It would be dope.
And when you come up with something just original out of your own original ideas that doesn't find its way to you, if a museum doesn't hit you up or the radio station doesn't hit you up, and you just come up with something on your own.
Personal curation.
Do you ever decide you want to host that through Wits and Giggles or Curate LA, or you always just do it on your own?
Like if I did BYOB again, which might happen, that would be me. That wouldn't be Curate LA. I don't know. It's kind of tricky though, because it might be Curate LA because I might be able to get more sponsorship. Mm-hmm. But an actual exhibition, if it was an exhibition that wasn't just like a one-night event, it would be me curating it, and it wouldn't be Curate LA.
And Curate LA would be the media partner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's no like rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of like I go with how I feel about it. If I feel comfortable with it, then I'll do it. I don't think I necessarily need to be connecting them all at the same time. I kind of like that they're separate. I like to sometimes not mention one or two of them whenever I talk to people about what I do.
Which is why I want to start a pseudonym and make my own paintings.
I mean, sure,
else.
if you like that, then do it. I just
all right, I'm going to do it. I got Shelley Holcomb's permission.
No, I just
Curate
think
LA
you
approves.
Like, fucking just like be you. If it's your art, then you should be known as creating that art.
But I know we keep getting on this topic, but I'm so damn curious. Okay, so what if there's a part of me that wants to unleash an alter ego? Is that disingenuous?
Go for it then. Go for it.
But is it disingenuous?
No, that is a purpose. And it's not disingenuous what Jacob wants to do. It's just, I feel like it's coming from a place of insecurity that you think people are going to judge you.
That's not
yes,
true at all.
Is.
No, I just brought it up that way, but that's not true at all. I just want to start my own shit that's not even tainted by my own history or whatever I wanted to do.
I mean, I understand that.
And now I sound offensive.
No, tell us how you really feel, Jacob. Yeah. Tell us how you really feel. Jacob's holding my hand under the table right now. You can't see it, but yeah.
Patrick's holding mine. He's been tapping my leg and being like, "It's okay, man."
I got my hands behind my head, just straight cooling. So I'm curious. Like, you taken on a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
How have you learned
on purpose?
Not on purpose. Well, how have you dealt with it? How do you multitask?
I work all the time. All the time.
What's your schedule look like?
I mean, I have a day job where I work 9 to 6, and then usually Monday and Tuesday I don't do anything. I go home or I go to yoga because I have to. Mm-hmm. And then I work from home. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday nights are my nights that I upload events to Curate LA. And then Thursday is our email newsletter. Luckily, I have someone who does that for me, but I have to like send the content and approve and edit the newsletter on my lunch break at my day job.
Damn.
And then usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, I am going out to art events. I go to 5 to 10 art events a week. And then with Wits and Giggles, luckily Whitney is my girl, so anytime we meet, we're just hanging out. And anytime we hang out, we're meeting about Wits and Giggles.
Right.
And then Wits and Giggles is once a month. And then we do promotion, like whenever we feel like it. And what else do I do?
Does your day job hate on you for working on your side hustles during your lunch break?
We don't talk about it.
I got partially fired for that reason from my marketing
on your lunch
job.
break?
I would work on it on my lunch break, yeah. Because the lawyer and like other people, like the marketing director and stuff would ask me like, yo, let's go to lunch together. And I'd be like, I can't, sorry, I got an art project I got to finish, back when I was painting sneakers. And then eventually they were like, they had a conversation with me about it. And I was like, you ain't paying me, dog. I can work on whatever I want.
You're allowed to do whatever you want on your lunch break. That's pretty,
totally.
But they said I wasn't buying into company culture, which to some degree makes sense, but.
Like you weren't being a team player.
Yeah.
Well, that's fucked up. You could have probably sued them for that.
No, I got fired for another reason that was very valid, but it was fine. That just added to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, they hired me because of Curate LA.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they respect it. But obviously, they don't want me to be working on something else.
Of course.
But on my lunch break, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
A lot of times on my lunch break, I go visit galleries or I take meetings for Curate LA during my lunch break.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a morning ritual?
Sleep as long as I can.
Yeah.
Do you have a weekend ritual? Do you have a ritual when you're gonna like go home, sit down, and get to work, and like get it popping on Curate LA?
No, I mean, one ritual is my roommate, who's basically my wife, is every night she rolls me a spliff, and we smoke a spliff together, and we talk about our day, which is really nice. It keeps me it's like therapy.
Yeah, smoking weed is one of the most ritualistic things I partake in. So
yeah,
I feel that.
Well, it's more just about she's giving me the spliff, and then we sit and we don't do anything else but just talk to each other about how our day was, whether it was good or bad. We kind of go through all the events and recap, and I feel like it's a good process.
That's awesome.
Is she a good listener, or is she just like standing there while you like dish it out?
She's both. She's a really good listener, and then sometimes she's just all about talking about herself, which is great. I listen. I'm a good listener. It depends.
So some days you got to take the blows, and some days she's got to take the blows of the heaviness of your day.
I mean, you have to think about it. If you're really stressed out or something's really wrong, you're not going to be listening to what the fuck someone else is saying anyways.
Yeah.
You're just going to be internalizing and thinking about what the fuck's wrong with you.
Especially when you're stoned.
But you do it every single night, so it doesn't matter. It's kind of just this cathartic time that we get to spend with each other. And we're on different schedules, too. She works nights, usually. So
that's kind of cool to have that. We've had a few people around Think Tank who are working graveyard shifts, and as you're like getting ready for bed, they're just waking up, and it's such an interesting, different feel to have where it's like someone's just starting their day and you're just wrapping yours. And
well, it's usually she's ending her day, but yeah, that is interesting. She just works till like midnight or 1.
Oh, I see.
And I work starting at 9 a.m.
Yeah. So what newsletters do you follow? Where are you pulling your information from?
It's a good ass question, Jacob.
I'm subscribed to a lot of gallery newsletters.
And do you actively follow each one? Like I have to open. What are the ones you have to open?
I get signed up for them now.
I'm sure you do. We do too.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys do. Do I actively follow them? I mean, I use them as a resource. Whenever.
Which ones in particular? You like, I have to make sure I see this one every time they drop something.
The shows? I mean, there's no one. I mean, actually, I would say Barbecue LA. I really pay attention to them.
Cool.
There's also Patrick Gomez for Sheriff. I always love it.
Yeah, what is that? What is that place? I found that place today.
So that place, speaking of artist-run spaces.
Yeah, their tagline is, "We are the most important contemporary gallery in all of Los Angeles."
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's their like tagline on Instagram or some shit
amazing.
like that. So what are they? What is that
space?
So
it is a space. These two artists, Sarah Gomez, who shows at Francois Cavalli, and Patrick Walsh, who goes by JBW3 pseudonym. Mm-hmm. He shows at Night Gallery. and both of them showed a lot of other places too. But they used to share a studio. It's like Boyle Heights, like Vernon area. And they built out a gallery space in the front of their studio. They no longer share the studio. It's all of Sayers, I think. But they do gallery events, I don't know, like every other month. And it's always like a really fun party. Like everyone smokes a ton of weed. They always have a bunch of booze. They always get a bunch of food, like tamales, tacos, pizza. It's like a different food every opening, which is pretty rare for most openings.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially for artist-run spaces.
We used to serve grilled cheeses and oranges for the first like year. Every single
bizarre.
show, every single time we did it, we dropped it because it was too hard to serve food every time.
Their last show that they opened, I think it was a couple weekends ago, was Devin Troy Strother.
I know, I saw that. That's why I was like, because Richard Heller has like a stranglehold on him, and I've been trying to get a hold of him because I really want him for one of our next shows.
I'm doing a studio visit with him on Thursday.
Name drop us.
Yeah, talk nice about us.
So we're trying to we're meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. with the guy who's very active in the community, but I
know the director of Richard Heller too.
I know, I have his cell phone number. I met with him a couple times, but he just is like, we'll see every time I talk to him. So we'll see. I'm trying to make something happen. First of all, I want to put him in our Drinking, Smoking, and West Coastin' show, which is our gigantic like super group show that has like 60 to 100 artists. It's based on.
He's probably not going to do that.
So that's one thing. But then the other thing, and this is the one I really don't know about, is we're meeting with a guy tomorrow who's a event producer and very active in the Black Lives Matter community, and we're going to donate our space basically to this movement because we have some faith in it, but we feel like someone else needs to kind of utilize our space because we're not knowledgeable enough in the rhetoric of the movement to do something. But we do have people we love and we'd love to involve, and he's one of them. So, but I don't know, because it's like, does he want to buy into the BLM movement or not? That's the question. Because that fool is like, I've seen him go in on people on Instagram. Richard Heller had to separate himself from the artists because he was like, we can't support. He just like, he ripped into what's the artist who paints the like cupcake? The street artist. He paints the like cupcake things with the little happy cherries on them and has a big ass Buff Monster. He like ripped into Buff Monster on Instagram and the galleries that were showing him. He was like, "This is like the same kind of tired bullshit." Blah 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 blah. Just
and he doesn't give a fuck.
Went off. Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. And Richard Heller was like, "Yo, dude, you're burning bridges for me now. I have to."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know if that was like at the height of it. I saw Richard that day. So I don't know if he was just like, today I'm not repping Devin on our Instagram, but
Devin's
or if that's
I mean, he kind of does him. Like,
his installations are the illest shit.
Yeah, well, he did this installation at Patrick Gomez for Sheriff. It was Cotton Club, and the gallery was just filled with raw cotton. And then in the studio space was a recreation of a bar that was post-slavery. It was like early 1900s, called the Cotton Club, where all of the servers were black because there was still segregation. All of the people who attended were white, and it was like a jazz club. And so he recreated it, and all of the servers were white this time. Mm-hmm. And it was basically like a speakeasy. They brought out a craps table. It was free booze, open booze all night long. But it was really fun.
That shit is so tight. I saw his shit in Miami during Art Week last year, and I was like, this is the dopest thing I've seen at
Did you see a
Untitled,
show of Richard Heller?
I think. Yeah, and then I went there after, but I walked up and I was like, who is this artist? It was the only artist actually that I did that to in every fucking fair in Art Week.
I love
And
stuff.
I walked up to him and they're like, oh, we're from LA. And then I showed him a picture of our gallery and I was like, yo, you guys should do some shit here just because of how fucking big it is. And then I went and saw the show once they opened it up with him. And his art's like, for those who haven't seen it, he does a lot of neon signs, and he does a lot of completely like takeover installation shit where he'll just do like wallpapers that just say nigga, 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 like a whole bunch of times. And then he'll do a lot of blackface art and really kind of ignorant on purpose blackface art. And he does these Michael Jordan paintings. That was the first thing I saw because I fucking love Michael Jordan. And I saw that shit and I was like, yo, I have to get my hands on some of these.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the show that he did, the Cotton Club, was a semi-Curate LA exclusive. They did not publicize the show at all. And so no one listed it except for being really, and it was So it was something that unless you were looking at our Instagram or our site, you wouldn't have known about it. And then this Thursday, I'm doing a studio visit with him, and we'll probably Snapchat it.
Dope. So envious. That sounds amazing. That
Yeah.
dude is, you can tell he's like,
He's funny as fuck.
he's got a special mind too.
Oh, for sure. He's so smart. I mean, he's like, he's great.
Please name drop us and be like,
Okay.
yo, the Think Tank guys want to talk to you.
All right, I'll tell him.
Just tell him how cool we are.
Yeah. So artist run spaces, what have you seen happen to them in the 2 years you've been documenting them in LA? Have you seen a lot of places fold? What have you seen happen to places that have folded? Have you seen places shine that you didn't expect to? What kinds of things have happened?
Well, I mean, Night Gallery. Look at Night Gallery. Night Gallery started as, it's still an artist run space, but it's a commercial gallery now. They started in a hole in a shopping center in Lincoln Heights, and it was just DaVita. And then now they're like a huge gallery that's showing at all these different art fairs, and they're doing really well.
What they do right?
I think they're just showing really good art, and they kind of have their finger on the pulse. And I don't really know. I don't know. Their business model must be good.
That's probably true.
Couldn't really tell you.
And then what about, have you seen like trends of people who have failed? Because I remember the first time I sat down with you, I was like, yo, I want to just ask, like, what's going on? Just data collection almost. Like, what's going on with DIY spaces in LA and
Define DIY,
do it yourself?
but who's yourself?
I'm one of them.
Okay, but-
Patty Cakes over here.
This
one.
is the best definition I can give because I've actually gotten this question a lot, and it is difficult to pinpoint a good answer, but I would say a DIY space is somebody who was able to get the space alone by the skin of their teeth and did not have the capital to turn it into a bougie West Hollywood-esque type of establishment.
So no
You're
investors.
bootstrapped.
A bootstrap, like pull up your bootstrap type of showrunners
With
who,
no
Self-funded.
investors.
who pull together resources that were
The term is self-funded and
yeah,
bootstrapped.
like duct
either
taped
one.
together, but somehow there's a polish of just authenticity to it, and perhaps even a skillful, resourceful knack for
Larry
making.
Gagosian started as DIY.
Really?
Yeah, he started selling posters out of his fucking garage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it could go. I mean, but at some point, maybe the threshold in which you are no longer DIY is when you are not hiring, like interviewing and hiring people who are not friends and friends of friends to take on full-time positions in your company. Because we have not ever hired anyone that's not us or one of our friends. We have one employee, and it's just the manager here, and it's a friend of one of the artists who works here. It's just her homie.
And so you tend to compare DIY to artist-run space.
I don't
So what
know
is-
if there's a difference necessarily. I mean, you'd be the more professional person on that. I would assume they're the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, but there's also commercial galleries where the owners are DIY. I mean, like Anat Ebji, she's running her shit. Like, so is Honor Fraser. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of commercial galleries that are technically still DIY, but I guess they have employees that aren't their friends. I mean,
Yeah. Are they doing shows of their own that's just like their show, or it's just like their own self-funded shit that they...
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Well, why do you prefer the term artist-run spaces?
Because
I know that's your
there
favorite.
are artists that are running it versus someone who's not an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess DIY to me is like, I guess it's the measure of what my dad always liked to call sweat equity that is put into a space. So I feel like it's the difference between someone walking in being like, cool, I want this to be the hippest gallery in town. Like, I'm paying this guy to lug in all the wood. I'm paying this guy to build it all. I'm paying this guy to paint it all. I'm paying this guy to install all the
Sure,
lighting. I'm
yeah.
paying this guy to design it. And then what is this person actually doing? He's
isn't that-
conducting the orchestra, but the sweat equity is like,
Oh.
all right, yeah.
Because
So like,
technically you're doing it yourself by being like, here's my money, do this. Like, if you're making the calls,
Yeah.
aren't you doing it yourself?
yeah, but like, who built the pyramids? Was it the slaves or like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
So,
saying?
like,
It's
in
oh,
this
it's
Well,
a
in
room-
slave.
history, I mean.
In this room, I built that wall. Patrick put this...
Yeah, you guys are definitely DIY. I get what you're saying.
That's the angle. So like, I understand. I think there's a terminology gap, I suppose, but we're kind of saying the same thing in several respects.
Yeah.
The two terms overlap in a lot of different categories.
And most of the times artists are the ones that take on those roles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I don't ever use the term DIY space or artist run space at all. I say alternative art space because I just want people to know that we're not a commercial gallery. It's not our primary source of income that like we have to sell X number of art pieces every month to move on to the next month.
I call your space an art space.
Just that.
I'm pretty sure on Curate LA it's listed as a gallery. It's not an alternative space.
Well, we would, I mean, for us.
Would you prefer to be an alternative space?
If you want to change it, go for it.
I mean, can totally change it.
I never, well, the first time you listed us, we were in North Carolina. And I had to hit you. That's actually how I met you, is I emailed you and I'm like, yo, someone hit me up and they were like, yo, do you know your space says it's in North Carolina?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And you were like, okay, I'll change that. And then a year later or something we met. But
that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, when I hit somebody up, like if we're sending out a proposal or something like that, I'm like, yo, we run this massive alternative art space in the middle of downtown LA, the armpit of the fashion district.
Use art space. I got like fucking hated on or like ridiculed because I called in my newsletter one of the spaces alternative art space.
And they consider themselves a commercial gallery?
Well, they're an artist-run gallery, but they just thought the notion of alternative art space was silly.
Like fringe?
Yeah.
I mean, we embrace that too. I think that might be another thing for us is we embrace that aspect of fringe. Like we do programming as a part of our shows. It's like we'll host some big show like we did Break Bread, and then we'll have 30 days of all sorts of different shit. Comedy shows and fucking supper clubs and sex talks. And
the stakes are, the way in which the stakes are high for us the most is not because we have an investor who's like, all right, like if you don't hit this number over this consecutive, amount of months, then you're under. Like you look at DBA, for example. DBA, are you familiar with DBA?
I don't think so.
So DBA was started by the same people.
They folded, but they were so dope.
They were started by the same people who run The Box in New York.
Not here in LA.
What's
that? There's The Box here in LA, but it's
So there's a place called The Box in New York, and The Box was like, that's where you go for like shock entertainment, like the craziest shit you've ever seen. And so DBA was basically the response in LA to The Box. That was like, this can work here. We can make this happen. And and you can look this up. This happened in Hollywood. I think it closed down about a year ago. And they had the craziest shit. Like they had, Mark Shustrin talked about this a little bit on another podcast we had, but there was like this one person who would walk out in this like disco ball suit shooting lasers out of her like tits, and it would like bounce off of different mirrors and stuff, like just madness, like stuff that like people like me would go crazy over. And it just couldn't survive in the condition that it was built under because it had so many financial obligations to meet.
Sure. Everything fails eventually if you don't have any money.
Right. But the value of a space like this is we're operating with such like minimal stakes because we know we're covering our nut, under certain A, B, and C prerequisites that we know we always check off, like the artists who rent the space here, et cetera, et cetera. So if we have a month where we throw like a show where, monkeys are playing piano and we're having a piano duel and no one shows up.
So Patrick comes up with shit on the fly, and I'm going to definitely ask our audience to Photoshop these things every time he comes up with some shit like this, and we'll give him a fucking free pin or a shirt or something. So someone Photoshop that what he just said.
Yeah, but just like something ridiculous, like we can audition that, and if the month ends and we didn't sell any tickets to the dueling piano monkey show, then we're not under, as far as our financial obligations are concerned. We take a hit for sure personally, but the business can technically live on.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, I value where we're positioned because we can take these risks and learn from these things. And like, that's not to say we haven't grown exponentially. We've grown year over year for sure, without question. I've looked at the numbers. But
I think that's like, for me, artist-run spaces, the significance of them is that experimentation is key, and that they're not a museum. They don't have these pressures of a gallery, overhead of employees, and they're just putting things out there that they really want to put out there. If it's really weird, or if it's just their friends. A lot of them are only just showing their friends, which is dope because it's like they're giving these other artists that no one would have ever known about a platform.
Yeah, it's like Beautiful Losers, the documentary.
Sure.
Have you seen it?
A long time ago.
Yeah, you should watch it. I should watch it again too. I haven't seen it in a while. And that perfectly answers the question. I was going to ask you, what is something an artist-run space can do that a museum can't, or a commercial gallery
absolutely.
can't?
It's like the freedom of experimentation. I mean, museums are starting to catch on. They're doing some weird shit lately. Yeah. Like the Broad recently had Mutant Salon, which I thought was amazing.
What was Mutant Salon?
Mutant Salon is young Zhu Quan. I can't remember.
We'll post a link.
Yeah, Young Kwok Jun or Young Jun Kwok. I don't remember. I can't pronounce his name, and I'm very sorry for that. But
we'll post the link. He'll get it.
So he has this troupe, basically, of mutant. They call themselves mutants, and they look like beauty queens, but they're all men, and they're like a plant. They usually have like some sort of like installation involved. And the last one I saw was a makeup station, and the brushes and the applicators all had mics in them, and they were like painting all over each other and like doing all this powder and one of the guys, which I'll never forget, was like powdering his taint. And he was like banging the powder brush on his taint, and there were like children like right across, like staring at him.
Don't bring your kids to the fucking Mutant Queen parade.
But you know what? The parents just like let them watch, and I was like, cool, that's fine. I think maybe a kid should enjoy that. And then like they were doing like they'll like strut. Like there's like nail painting stations where you yourself can get your nails painted by these mutants. They were like strutting around like they were on a catwalk, but they were like wearing huge stripper heels and falling all over the place. It was really bizarre, but I love them. Like I really find a lot of entertainment out of them. So they showed at Commonwealth and Council, which is technically an artist-run space. It's definitely an alternative space that's in MacArthur Park. And they've been doing these mutant salons for a few years now. But for that, they did it at the Broad. So crazy.
I wonder if they were scouted, like some Broad scout was
Absolutely.
like, I just saw this dude like banging a brush on this fucking asshole.
Yeah. They did Mutant Salon, and they did Narcissister, which both of those were underground just like a couple years ago. That
reminds me of the Pearl's Beauty Salon, the Swoon show that Super Chief did. They did a lot.
I didn't see that.
Whoa! What the
podcast is over.
Hello.
Well,
Hello.
We're still going.
Are we okay?
I really wonder what that sounded like for everyone else, and I kind of want to just publish it as is because we were talking about experimental soundscape shit, and then that happened. I feel like the gods were kind of smiling down upon us.
Yeah, they intervened for sure.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is though, we will put out a request for proposals to various artist organizations, performance troupes, things like that, and we'll just publish it and then see if people will share it and leave it at that. And we publish a lot of grants, other people's grants and things like that too, so artists can find us. But I will constantly be scouting, a lot of the times through shit that you post or Ari posts and other people like that. And I will send the RFP to them. And I'll say, hey, we have the opportunity to, we have all this attention on us right now for this big show that we're doing that lasts 30 days. And we're trying to activate the lounge with a bunch of really cool shit. Do you want to take our space over and sell tickets? And people will do that. And we'll find really, really dope people to do that kind of thing. So I strongly encourage any museum to steal that model because it supports the artists and they have the opportunity to do so.
I think some of them are. I think some of them are becoming way more accessible and artist friendly because they realize that there's an audience to gain with these people.
Yeah. Or just they have the platform to share, and they should responsibly, ethically, morally.
You would think so.
All the things museums care about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
It's nice to see that type of content is finding a home because to me, in like a large
Well, it
platform.
had a home.
Sure.
It has a home. It's just being
let me rephrase that.
given
It's nice to see that it found a mainstream home in which like people who aren't you and I who are actively seeking these sort of artist run spaces
Sure.
and instead maybe visiting from Seattle may not have any idea what the artist run landscape in Los Angeles is, but has
Yeah.
heard of the Broad and they stumble in and they see it.
Yeah,
this
I
and
mean,
go,
I
holy
love watching
shit.
people's reactions. I think it's great. And even like the other night, Jacob and I, we were at this performance at Red
I went with
Cat.
her mom and she tagged along.
Yeah. And you went with my mom and
Yeah.
I tagged along.
Yeah.
And so my mom never like experiences things like this. Like she lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and she doesn't like put herself out there at all. And it was really cool for me to see her reaction to the show, someone that never ever has experienced anything like this and how it affected her. And she was really into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's like, I definitely enjoy that a lot.
That's awesome. So let me ask you something, and this is kind of a question that's going to require you to kind of look back and channel like a younger version of yourself. But when you were 20 and you think about who you were and what you were up to and the type of shenanigans and bullshit that you were, diving headfirst into, what type of advice, like what would you say to yourself, your 20-year-old self, if you had a chance to sit across from them right now to try to steer them in as best you could?
Or explain where your life has ended up now that you wouldn't have expected.
Well, I mean, I think that painting or majoring in painting was slightly a waste of time. I would have really benefited from something that was more conceptual or business like. I was really well trained in painting before I went to college. I went to college on a full ride because of my portfolio. And when I was exempted from a lot of classes when I got there, and I was taught nothing as far as painting goes. And I spent most of my time doing a lot of drugs and partying.
Which is important.
Which has actually paid off now because I can throw an event really well. I think it's like...
So you were like too raw. You were too raw for
What do you
college.
mean?
You were like, I'm way too dope.
I just shouldn't have majored in painting because I had mastered it. Like, as far as it was a technical school, it was very foundational, and I had mastered foundational painting skills. I mean, the way that I used to paint when I was in high school was my teacher taught me to paint out like Rembrandt. So I was super realistic and old school, traditionally trained, and that's what they were teaching for like 3 years of college that I didn't need. But I did take a lot of like liberal arts classes. I was introduced, our English classes were cool. We would do like really abstract sort of English subjects, and I had to take a psychology class where we did a lot of like color theory, and I don't know, those things were cool. But I don't know what I would tell myself. Like, I feel like my path has been, I don't really regret much. I'd probably maybe tell myself not to like date certain dudes that I dated in the past, or like put myself in certain situations that I got in, but those were temporary. But as far as career-wise goes, like I feel pretty comfortable and accepting of where I am, that I feel like I wouldn't want to change that. The only thing was, if I had gotten a degree that was more business focused, maybe I could have gotten a better job out of college. But I feel like if I had done that, then I wouldn't be where I am now.
True. So a lot of times the part two to that question is, every time we ask someone like, talk to yourself at 20, those people were either in college or not. And it was a very conscious thing that they were not in college at that time because all their friends were, or a lot of their friends were. So do you think you should have gone to college?
I don't know. I mean,
even for something else?
If I had paid for college, I think that would have been a really bad investment. I think nowadays people should take like a year or two hiatus before they go into college, so you can really know what it is that you want to do. I mean, when you're 18 years old, how the fuck are you going to know what you want to do for the rest of your life? I don't think college is necessarily important as far as like skills go, but if you're trying to get a job, then you need a degree, unfortunately.
No, you still think that?
I mean, yes and no. Like,
I don't have mine.
so.
I just lie about it. Every time I want a real job, I just lie.
You just say you got a degree?
Yeah. I got
great.
everything except one
that.
class. So I just say I studied art history at UCLA.
Oh, okay.
Once I finish it. Like, they can still look back and find a track record, but I didn't actually get the degree.
They're not going to. Yeah, I mean, that's great. Like, and I think also, like I said, like my current job, I think Curate LA got me the job, not because I went to SCAD. So like, really did my schooling matter? No. It was an amazing experience though. Like, I wouldn't give it up, but as far as education goes, I don't really know. I did do one exchange program in France, and that was life-changing. That was amazing.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities that come up only from what college it can offer.
Yeah.
Traveling for sure is one of the most underrated, I think, should be requirements for someone to really be able to shape their mind in like a really well-rounded way.
Yeah, but this was like, we were traveling and then we were isolated completely. We were in this medieval village in the south of France. And and we were painting, and there was the village was just us, and there was only like 30 people there, and then the people that lived there, which was no one, and the people that worked there. So it was almost like we went mad, like we went really crazy, and then we were creating all of this work, and we were going out in the field and
doing drugs,
doing open air. No, because we couldn't get our hands on any fucking drugs. Like I would have. I remember we went on like a field trip to Aix-en-Provence, and we got ecstasy, and that was cool. But like as far as in the village, we were just drinking. I mean, there's like so much wine.
Yeah.
There was only one bar, so we would just get like jugs of wine. There was a quarry that we would go hang out at. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. And I never painted a plein air landscape before, and that I feel like really taught me a lot.
Yeah.
It was cool.
So let's put it this way. If someone was moving to LA right now, today, let's say this person moved into LA today, somehow they found this podcast and they're listening to it, and they've been enthralled by your whole angle, the way that you got to where you are today, and you had to give them some advice of like how to spend their next 2 weeks, and they want to make it in LA in the arts. What would you tell them?
Professionally? You can't do that in 2 weeks.
No, they just want to, like, what should they do to like gain their footing? They get their apartment set up.
As an artist,
as someone who wants to work in the arts.
I mean, you have to connect yourself. Like, you have to network for sure. You have to, I mean, as an artist or as someone who wants to work in the arts, you have to know people for the most part in order to get your work shown and to get a job. Yeah, I mean, that's the first step. So go to Curate LA, go to every single fucking opening on there, meet people, talk to everyone there, be a nice person.
Tell them how dope Shelley is and Curate LA
exactly.
is. And think tank's the greatest.
Is there a place where people can find your personal work?
Yeah, I have a website, shelleyholcomb.com.
Cool. So shelleyholcomb.com, curatela.com. What's the URL?
No, it's curate.la.
Curate.la, excuse me. And then what is the URL for Wits and Giggles?
It's like, I don't even fucking know.
Just Google Wits and Giggles.
witsandgiggles.tumblr.com or something.
Yeah,
I think the easiest way is finding the Instagram. So what are your social platforms?
Yeah, so Instagram is at Wits and Giggles. That's like, if you want to subscribe to anything that's entertaining, it's really entertaining.
Yep. WHITS, the letter N, Giggles.
We also, you can email us if you're interested in talking about sex. You can email us. And then Curate LA is at curate.la on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Snapchat. We're on Twitter. And then, subscribe to our email newsletter. And then
your personal shit.
Else?
All these different brands.
My personal. You can go to my website, shelleyholcomb.com.
Right on. Shelley, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in there.
This is cool.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
So that was episode 5 of the Real Talk Podcast. We'll be back again next week. I don't know which one we're releasing next week. We have a couple left. We have one with Kieran Gandhi and A.R.T. Simon from Get Downtown and a couple other ones. So we'll see. We'll put out something good. But if you want to find Shelley, you can find her personal Instagram with her own artwork at Shelley Hole, SHELLEYHOL, for her radio show, her sex talk radio. Wits and Giggles is WHITS, the letter N, and then Giggles. And probably the best place to find her is Curate LA. It's curate.la or at curate.la on Instagram. And her newsletter, I highly suggest anybody who's in LA or going to visit LA or anything, check out her app, check out her newsletter, check out her website. It's one of the best places to find out about what's happening in LA, and she has really good taste and she curates it well. Aside from that, yeah, just keep an eye on our Instagram. We're going to have a Black Friday sale, 10% off extra on top of the deals that we'll already have going for podcast listeners. If you use the promo code REALTALK, that's all caps, no spaces. And finally, thank you so much for everybody who's rated and reviewed our show so far. It really helps us, and we're starting to get a lot of downloads that we're excited about. We can't wait to open this up as a discussion with the people who are listening and, finding new audiences too. So please rate us and, give us 5 stars on iTunes and give us a little review and tell us what you think about the show.